Welcome to the Run Strong podcast, episode number 7 on your InnerFight show. We are 579. Robert Jones, we have aligned on t-shirt colour this week.
Yes, we went for white. Our shorts aren't aligned, but nobody can see that. They can just see our lovely faces.
And hair and stash.
It is November, and it is currently the 11th of November, so I'm going strong. I'm 1/3 of the way in.
Do you feel a bit stitched up? Because we all knew November was happening, and I could join you on this, but I decided I'm going to wait till the day that we're doing the blue colour day, the event here at InnerFight Gym. So in the meantime, you're rocking it on your own.
I like to follow the rules. You're cheating.
I'm not cheating, mate.
You cannot grow a full beard for a month and then shave it off in the last day in a ditched attempt to claim it's a November.
I can and I will. So there's that.
It also doesn't help that Marcus employs people that are so young, none of them have the ability to grow a beard. So there's only a very select few of us that can actually do it.
It's also true. Also true. Right, this week's show is all about topics. The topic this week is recovery.
Yeah.
We are sticking to the theme of doing a topic show followed by a question show. If you didn't listen to last week's show, which was a question show, then you're missing out. What did we go through, mate?
We went through how often you should fuel during a marathon. We also looked at what your long run should be in terms of distance before marathon training, and then we looked at the importance of glutes in running, calves, and somebody had a knee injury, and so you were talking through that and how they could help recover from that.
Yeah, and from what I hear so far, it was a good show. So head back and listen to that one if you haven't to yet. We also discussed on there the fact we were going to be running on Sheikh Zayed Road, which we did. How was it, mate?
Wow. Yes, it was carnage.
Yeah,
carnage
wasn't it?
Well, the way we completely cheated.
Did we cheat?
In the sense that we did not queue up with the rest of the 40,000 people. We came in.
Mate, that's not cheating. That's
from
being
the
smart.
Wrong side. We stood on the wrong side of the barrier, and whenever they removed the barriers, we were right at the front.
Ready to go. We all had our bib numbers on.
We all had our bib numbers on. Yeah, no, it was good. I got a 5k PB trying to follow you.
Yeah, it was good. We sort of eased into it, didn't we? And then
you turned the screw a little bit more, and I was left hanging on to the back for 5k.
Hang on to the fun bus. But what was it like, mate, coming down on that final stretch of road before the finish, and where the 5k and the 10k met?
It looked like a swarm of ants. Or when you watch these films and something goes wrong and the whole population are running away from something. Yeah. It looked like that. Streams and streams of people coming out of this corner, out of this side street, and then turning 90 degrees left. Some running, some walking, a few crawling. It just met, and then they all overflowed into the 10k lane, and the marshals were trying to funnel them back into the right side of the road. It was just, my favourite thing about the whole thing was when we finished, turning back on ourselves and walking back through the course to see how many people there were still running. Yeah,
and how many wanted to get a selfie, wanted to stop, wanted a high five. I was blown away by it.
It was incredible. Like, the amount of people that we knew. I think most of Dubai was there.
Yeah.
Everyone we knew was there.
Everyone.
People people I didn't know who knew me were there, said hello. There was high. It was just mind-blowing.
My favourite moment was the guy who was the marshal about 3k out from the finish, telling everyone it was one kilo to go. And there was a guy with us who absolutely gassed it, didn't he, thinking it was 1 kilometre to go. And
we caught up with him about 300 metres up the road.
300 metres down the road, he realised that it's maybe a bit more than that.
Yeah, because we obviously knew where the finish line was and knew it wasn't 1 kilo to go.
I must admit, typical me, I didn't know, but I did ask you, how far have we gone?
I was like, no, more. We have
I had 2 questions for you. Do you have any food, and how far in have we got?
I was in no position to answer. I was definitely not conversational.
Yeah, we weren't chatting too much.
Far too fast.
Good. So yeah, it was a really epic weekend, and they reckon 70,000 people turned out for that run, which is
mind-blowing,
astonishing. Really, really is.
Yeah, and just even the organisation of that event. To be fair, there's always going to be a few hiccups and things like that happen, like marshalling at the start. Nobody knew where the start line was because everyone just wanted to run on the motorway on Sheikh Zayed Road. But as an event, it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Really loved it.
Good. So that was last weekend. This is coming out now. What's going on this weekend, mate? There's been a lot happening.
This weekend,
every weekend there's something
what
going
have we had
on.
last week?
Wadi
B. There was a 35k race in the Hatta Mountains. What we just had yesterday? We had the Athens Marathon.
Yeah, Athens coast to coast.
Coast to coast cyclists.
It's just gone when this comes out.
Right, yeah.
That's just gone. That's 140k or 200k from the Sharjah coast to the Fujairah coast. I'm doing that. I should be. I'm talking in my future self here, trying to work it out. But yeah, so there's still tons going on here. And we want to hear all about it. A lot of your questions stem from things that you are getting up to, events that you're doing, specific races. So it's great when we get questions in like that, because we can really get them answered thoroughly. The next show, question 8, will be a question show. But as we said, this show number 7 on the Run Strong podcast is your topic show. And today we are discussing recovery, and more importantly, how we can upgrade your recovery.
Yeah. So
I'm first going to start, mate, by defining what recovery is. And I found a really nice term that I like to use. And recovery is the athlete's return to resting function and physical performance.
Ooh, where'd you get that from?
That is from a high-performance textbook that I refer to very often. I can't remember actually the name of the proper title of it, but it's one of my Bibles that I use. And I thought we'd break that down a little bit to start with. So if we're saying an athlete's return to resting function and physical performance, what that means is how long it takes you, when you do exercise, you break the body down. Your recovery is how long it takes you to get back to the resting or your baseline of bodily functions, and also performance parameters that you may have tested, how long that time is. So if we're saying you might need 2 or 3 days recovery, that's what we mean by the recovery. So it's when you manage to wake up again without feeling maybe sore, with being able to run your best, or being able to go out and achieve one of your PB times. That is what we would say is being fully recovered. So that in itself is an interesting thing to think about, because when we go into a race, are we ready to be actually performing your best? And when we're in training, is there ever a time where we should be recovered enough to perform our best? And that's some of the things we touch on today, is more why we're training, what it means to build fatigue, how you can help yourself recover from that fatigue. We're going to talk about the mental aspects of it. That's going to be your thing to discuss, mate, and we're going to discuss this as we go through. And then I'm going to come on and talk about the physical aspects of it, and actually give some examples of recovery techniques that we can use, and whether they will work or not. And if you can't do it, maybe another thing that you could do. That's how we're going to get through this show, mate. So it's going to be a lot of information coming over.
Yeah, I think we've normally we for these sorts of podcasts we have a shared Evernote, don't we? And we put in our topics, we put in some studies, we put in what we talk about. This has by far been the biggest one.
It has, mate, because it's really important.
Scrolling.
It's without recovery, training is non-existent. Like, it's so important, and it's something that for years, as I've been coaching more and more, I see the importance of it. It's so important.
I'd say as well, it's probably one of the things that's overlooked the most. People are very, very keen to get all the training done. You stick in a rest day, and God, do people hate it.
Hate it, mate. And I think that segues us great into the first aspect, which you're going to go through with us, is the mental side of recovery. Why do people need recovery mentally? What's the deal?
Well, you know what? Let's step back a bit. So let's go into, first of all, reason why you need to recover. You need to recover so you don't overtrain. And so we've got overtraining. It can be split pretty much into 3 areas. You've got mental, physical, and hormonal. You're going to cover the physical, hormonal side. We'll look at the mental. So if we look at overtraining, whenever I was researching this, I found out 2 definitions. One actually which I'd heard of, the other one I hadn't. So we've got burnout, which most people would say they know what burnout is, if you're mentally burnt out or if you're physically burnt out. But another one's stillness. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, I heard of that.
I'd never heard of that one before. So we'll give you some definitions. Stillness is initial fatigue of the body's mechanisms to cope with physiological and psychological stress. And then you've got burnout, which is a bit more severe. So that's the psychological, emotional, physical withdrawal from something you pursued and enjoyed just as a result of the chronic stress. So whenever you go through burnout of any kind, you first go through the stillness, which is your initial failure of the mechanisms to cope with what you're doing, and then you get burned out. So I think from the mental side of things, people should be aware of how they feel day to day.
So a common word we hear within training is plateauing.
Plateauing. How
much of that? So what you're saying is the plateau might not be physical, it could be mental, it could be this term staleness.
And you know, in today's modern era, people are doing more and more and more. Another study I found that apparently this is from Raglan and Wilson, in the last 10 years, people have increased their training load, so the training volume, by 20%. And this is across the board in the study that they did. We're talking elites, we're talking non-elites, recreational runners. So people are training more. They're all working more as well, especially like here in Dubai. I've never seen people work so hard in terms of what time they need to be in work and what time they finish work. Marcus Smith has just walked past there giving us some interesting hand gestures. So yeah, so people are working harder, and then they're training harder. So they're not leaving a lot of time to, let's say, deload, to unwind, to relax.
Burning the candle at both ends.
Exactly, burning the candle at both ends. And that eventually takes its toll on the body, and especially on the mental aspect. So
what are we going to do about it, mate?
What are we going to do about it? So some simple tips. So again, these are things that I do, maybe you do, or maybe people have never done them before. For me, one of the first things I do in the morning that I find really, really useful, it just helps me think and reflect on what I've done the previous day. It's like a little journal. So I write down the things that have caused, for me, negative feelings the day before. And then, more importantly, how did I react to those things?
Oh, yeah.
So if, let's say I had a little bit of an argument with the wife or something over making coffee or over a training session when I'm going to plan it, I'd write that down. How did I feel? How did I react to that feeling? And then if I
made coffee wrong, mate, what have you done?
Decaf.
Yeah, well, I can see an argument there.
And then, so from there, you can start to see patterns emerging. And if those negative feelings or those negative patterns emerge more and more, you need to think, well, why are they emerging more and more? What am I doing? What can I change? Another little thing that sort of ties in with that is the heart rate variability reading that we do every morning.
Yeah.
So I know you use a different method to measure your central nervous system fatigue, but the heart rate variability app that we use, or I use...
Well, I to say, before using the Whoop Band, which I use now, I use this app for 3 years.
3 years. I think I've used it now, I'm coming on nearly a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
Most days, some days if I'm on holiday or if I'm traveling, I don't often do it, but that's probably the most important time to do it, right? But yeah, so in the morning, it asks you some really simple questions. So how are you feeling? How was your sleep? How does your body feel? Are you mentally prepared or are you mentally stressed? Are you following a routine, or is everything is your day stressful or is it routine?
Yep.
And then, so by doing that first thing in the morning, you're thinking and you're reflecting on what you've got coming up in the day, and you're almost then sort of rethinking about how you can attack that day or how you can attack that training. It's making you more self-aware of what you've got and what you've got to do. Yeah. Which is, lots of people don't do that. Although, to be fair, I've seen there's more and more self-help books, there's more and more self-journaling books out these days than I've ever seen before.
Yeah, there is.
So there are plenty of tools that you can use. So yeah, that's one thing I do.
What we're saying there is you're being able to put together some patterns, so that, say, a training run doesn't go quite right, you're able to look back and see why it might not have gone correct.
Exactly. So I know as well, I don't run with music. I've never really ever run with music, because when I go running, I like to think about things.
Yeah.
And if some days...
Think about what music you'd like to be listening to.
Exactly. Sing nursery rhymes in my head. I know that some days I'll go running, I can run for hours and hours and hours, and people will say to me, what did you think about your run? And I have no idea.
Yeah.
I've just thought away all my time. It's gone. But then there's some days I'll go for a run and I've got so much in my head, like, what bills have I got to pay? How am I going to get this money? What holidays have I got? What's coming up? What have I got to do? A client sent me this and I'm feeling stressed about that, or how am I going to attack this problem or this scenario? And whenever that happens, I think, oh, actually, something's going on. So mentally, I'm not as focused as I could be.
Yeah.
Maybe that's, I'm starting to get into the stillness, if you like. Or maybe it's my mind telling my body to relax, or there's too much on, I need to switch something up.
Yeah, and that, I think, is really a huge factor to mental recovery, is understanding stress is stress. So if you're stressed at work or home or generally in life, that's going to carry over to your training.
100%.
So you're not just doing these things you've gone through, actions you've gone through to help with just your training stress. You're doing it all to take care of your life admin as well.
Yeah. So
that you can carry on training as hard as you want to be.
Yeah, definitely.
It's interesting, mate. What's
do you want another one?
Yeah,
I've got another one. It's come up that I've thought about before. Social media. So social media at the minute, we talked about this already before. Social media, actually, it can be very, very positive, and it can also be hugely negative. The problem with social media is we now have access to pretty much every professional athlete in the world.
Yeah.
You can follow their training plans. You can look at the Strava and see how fast they were running. And with that, you've got to realize that is their full-time job. They have teams of people that help them recover. They've got teams of people writing their training, writing their diet. Most of them, that's all they do. They don't have to think about any of that. It's all controlled for them. And people are then trying to go out and copy what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's completely unrealistic. So you've got to have realistic expectations of your actual self versus your ideal self. So, I might say, right, my ideal self is I want to run like Kilian Jornet down hills.
Yeah.
My actual self, I'm going to run like an 84 kilo man down hills.
Like Rob Jones' endurance down hills.
Exactly. It's not exactly the same thing. So I've got to have a realistic expectation of what I can do and just be comfortable with that. Yes, I can get better, but I can never get as good as that.
Yeah. I think that's a great topic, mate. And it's one that I come across is people say to me, okay, here's my goal of say Ironman. So what do I need to do to hit it? And it's like, okay, well, here's what we need to do. You're going to train 6 days a week. You're going to have one rest day. You're going to do this amount of run. You're going to do this amount of bike. You're going to do this amount of swim. You're going to do this amount of admin. You're going to do this amount of rehab, prehab. And they're looking at me like, and then I'm like,
where's the time?
Is that okay? And they're like, well, no, I can't do it. I've got kids. I've got the job. I've got this. And I've got, okay, mate, you just asked me what it takes, what's optimal, and I've told you. But now let's actually work at what you need, what's optimal for you.
Exactly.
Let's sort your schedule out and direct training around your life. Yeah. Because, this is optimal because you asked what's optimal. So now we've got what you actually need to do in life and we can make it optimal to you. But you've got to understand that, like you said, the pros are pros. It's their job to do that. And if you want to execute the exact race you're capable of, then you need to drop everything else because training takes the front.
Yep.
But the fact is, you don't want to drop everything else, nor should you want to. So we need to fit it in around that and be okay with that.
100%.
Unless you're willing to make changes in other areas of the life.
Yeah, this is another thing that I was thinking about. Like, people are very, very quick to schedule in their meetings, their social appointments, their almost their directed time from work, but no one ever schedules in relaxation or rest periods.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one thing that me and my wife try to do is we always try and schedule in a section of the week or a section, because now obviously I'm working here, my schedule is all over the place as opposed to when I used to work in let's call it a 9 till 5 job.
Yeah.
We now have calendars that are completely unsynced, so we have to just schedule the time during the week where it's just we are going to spend time as a family and relax and switch the phone off or leave the phone at home and just go to the beach and sit and chill, and that just helps hugely for the mental side of things to unwind. Not thinking about training, not thinking about work, just enjoying nothing, if you like.
Yeah, it's true, and your mind tends to crave that.
Yeah, 100%.
I know for me, like on here, weekends, Fridays, Saturdays, I mean, I have some set rules in place anyway to help me be able to switch off. I don't journal. I've never been able to get into that. I just I feel like I'm wasting time.
Okay.
Which is a weird feeling to have, but I do. If I'm sat there writing things, I'm like, I could be doing something more productive here. So I've never got into it or made that a habit, but I do a lot of thinking similar to you when I am training about my week and what's going on. And then if a thought comes into my head, I take an action on it straight away. So I'll write it down as quickly as I can and get it pen to paper. But one thing I didn't used to do, but I done past year and a bit now, is I have set times where my phone in the evening goes on do not disturb, and it does exactly what it says in the tin. And I like to my favorite thing is like leaving my phone away from me, like upstairs, or say on a Saturday afternoon at like from maybe about 4 or 5, I'll leave it upstairs and just go on and do. If I've got to go somewhere, I'll just jump in my car and go. And it like, I don't have my phone. It's so nice. No one can contact me, and I crave that feeling of being disconnected. Yeah. Because I think as you and I as coaches, but also for people who maybe have a demanding boss or family or whatever, you're so contactable these days, and you're so easy to reach that it's a constant thing on your mind. And it's even similar with training. Is now we have like a brilliant platform like Training Peaks. But if your coach plans you a month in advance, you can see everything you have to do a month in advance, and it can almost like get you mentally stressed before you've even got to it.
I've 100% had that before.
Yeah.
I remember I had programmed it was a treadmill test, and you set the treadmill to 25% incline.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's the max that treadmill downstairs goes to.
Yeah.
25% incline, and every minute the speed increases.
Right.
And it's until you can pretty much fall off the back of the treadmill, or everything crashes and you can go no more.
Yeah.
And I remember it was programmed at the end of a 2-week block, and I saw it, I read through all the training, and it was there. And I was just thinking about it for 2 weeks and 2 weeks and 2 weeks, thinking about it. I got really stressed about it because I wanted to do really, really well. Obviously, I was putting in my head. I was thinking ideally what I'd like to hit as those numbers, but it was completely unrealistic. I had no idea what I could hit in those numbers, so I wasn't looking at my actual self versus ideally what I would like to hit.
Yeah.
And incidentally, actually, the test went really, really badly, cramped up really soon, so I did it again the next day and got a little bit faster. But
knowing it was there, and it's similar if you are looking at your phone on a Saturday evening or something, and a load of work emails come through, and then you're just dreading the next day, or you might be if you don't like your job. So I think a disconnection is really important to take, especially nowadays in the world that we live in. Any other techniques for us, mate, that can help to take away stress from the mind or relax a little bit?
Do you know, everyone is so pumped up on getting everything done in their training. If you wake up and you genuinely feel like you don't want to go and train, don't. Have a rest.
Yeah.
You're better off if you're fatigued, if you're stressed, if you're mentally drained. You're better off sleeping that extra hour and a half than the negative impact and the recovery and all the other elements that come into it if you go out and run and stress your body even more. So you'd be better off in the long term making the gains from sleeping and relaxing and resting and not worrying about it than getting up, doing the run without feeling completely involved, if you like, giving 100%. One
of my favourite things to hear from clients is they've got to a point where they know they're not recovered, and I think we're expected as coaches to be able to predict everything for them, right? So we know that this week you're going to need recovery, and they get to that week and they might not, or they get to that week and they really do, but we might have injured them in the first place. Like we're expected to know the answer to everything, and the fact is we don't, and we can't predict when you're going to need recovery, and we can't predict when you're going to get ill. We can have an idea, and what I love is when a client comes to me and says, Tom, I was absolutely fried last week. I took 3 days off. I did nothing for 3 days, and I feel so good about it, and I feel so recovered, and I'm so ready to come back to training.
I like it even more when they actually put that in the comments in the Training Peaks so you can see it as well.
Yeah, that helps.
Lovely.
That helps. But also I love it. They just go off grid. Yeah. And then they come back and they say why, and I'm like, no problem. I love that you took that control of yourself. You understood what your head was saying to you, and you managed to get it done. And I think that only comes through pushing yourself harder and harder and harder, and being more disciplined with yourself, because it's like the boy who cried wolf. You know, like you can tell yourself every day, oh, I'm tired, or I feel a bit sick, I might have a bit of a headache, and it's like, okay, but you didn't drink enough water yesterday, so you're not sick, you're just a bit dehydrated. So go and actually do what you're meant to do in a day and drink a proper amount of water, make sure you're hydrated, and make sure you're living optimally. Show up for that training session and get it done, because the day that comes when you are ill and you do need the recovery, that's when you can go, hold on a minute, I'm sleeping 8 hours a night, I know I'm hydrated really well, I'm still feeling a little bit off, something's not quite right here. And then you can make that decision that you know deep in yourself you're not faking this, you're actually sick, and there's no ifs or buts about it. I'm taking a rest day. Yeah.
I remember listening to a podcast with Mo Farah, and he was talking about his training, and he's kind of the same. He doesn't like to know what's coming up. He'll turn up, track session 6 a.m, bang, here we are. His coach tells him what the set is there, and then he goes and he does it.
A lot of them don't, mate. Same with Gren Jorgensen and a lot of the guys, well, most full-time athletes, because their coaches quite rightly will program day to day, because and it's kind of
based on what they did the day before, how they're feeling, how they're stressed, their
coaches are full-time coaches to them, and so people understand is they will only have 4 or 5 athletes they're responsible for, but they will be obviously be getting paid a lot more because they're earning a lot more. The athletes can pay them a lot more, and so their job is to get up each day and focus solely on one athlete or 4 to 5 athletes. And they might have extra jobs of programming track sessions for a team, or doing consulting work or whatever, but the fact is they are real specific professional performance coaches. And so quite rightly that athletes should be programmed day to day, because you cannot predict what's going to happen to that human later on in their day, or even just, we're talking about mental stress, but for pro athletes, like, you don't know how they're going to react to a media day, because one of the journalists might come up with a real dickish question and it might throw them right off, and so that will affect their next day's training. And
they'll be looking at headlines, and I suppose the amount of impact and the amount of exposure they get, even just through their phones, and like you say, they're all accessible. As soon as they put a post up, for every positive comment you probably get, there's probably a negative one somewhere, even for the pro athlete. Oh, you must be on steroids, or you're doing this, or this is wrong, or you were shit last time you went out and did a run, etc., etc. So there's huge mental stress there for them.
Massively, mate, massively. Good. Anything else on the mental side of training for us, or recovery?
The other thing I was just gonna say, like burnout, for me, the burnout can come from three things. Either you're going too quick, you're doing too much, or it's too intense. So have a think about those three things. Are you training too much? Are you training too fast? Or is something in your life too intense? And if it is, then just scale back on one of the three or all of the three. Give yourself a little brain break, relax a bit, schedule it in, and then go from there. Yeah,
the bread and butter of designing a session is the volume and the intensity.
Yeah.
And so what that means is the bread and butter of regressing a session, taking some pressure off yourself, is to look at volume and intensity.
So run less or run less hard.
Yeah, exactly. Lower the intensity. So yeah, super good, mate. Thank you for that.
Cool. What are you going to move on to?
Physical side of recovery. And like I said at the start of the show, this is so important to me that athletes understand what it all means and how it works, and the mental side of it is really, really important. But when you can understand what's going on physically, you can almost give yourself a mental break by understanding what you're actually putting your body through when you are training. And from a physical aspect, we're a lot like the mental aspect, you're looking at a multi-system approach. So it's not just, you can't just say, oh, my muscles are getting tired. There's a lot more going on than that. So you're looking at a neuromuscular side of things, which is not only muscles as in the muscle tissue that you have being broken down, but the nerve endings carrying on through the muscle sheaths, going up your spine, into your head, into your neck. And this is where how you carry yourself, your posture, how you sit can affect how your muscles perform. It's not just the fact that your muscles are tired or maybe depleted from glycogen. It's all a connected system.
So you might have a day of meetings one day, and then the next day you're feeling all the effects of not the training, it's the sitting down all day in the meetings.
Exactly, mate. Yeah, exactly. Your endocrine system is affected, which is basically your hormone functions, and that affects sleep, diet, skin, nails, hair, and all these things can be affected, and they will all affect one another.
Yeah.
So maybe if you didn't sleep too good, it's been shown that you will naturally crave sugar foods the next day, which then means that if your diet's off, or maybe you don't eat that food and you go into maybe a calorie deficit, that can affect the health of your skin. It can affect the health of your nails and hair. And so that's all coming in from a hormone response to your training.
Happened to me 2 days ago.
What happened?
So Hannah...
Your beard fell off and your stash stayed.
Hannah wasn't sleeping throughout the night, so I think she woke up 4 or 5 times at the night, and when she was awake for 60 minutes at a time. Yesterday, that was what day are we on now? We are on Monday, so that would have been Saturday night. So yesterday I was obviously really fatigued. Got to the evening time, all I was craving was something sweet.
Was it?
I was just thinking chocolate, ice cream, chocolate, chocolate, ice cream. So in the end I managed to have a soy yogurt that has some chocolate in it.
Wow.
And some mini oranges.
Oh wow.
That's what I used to hit those cravings.
Good man.
Should have just had some chocolate.
Mate, you should have just gone for it, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last area physically it can affect is your nervous system. So your autonomic nervous system, which controls resting heart rate variability, your alertness, your reactions to things. And this is where we use heart rate variability and resting heart rate in order to be able to measure your recovery, because we know what your baseline is, and we know when outside of that there may be something off with recovery and how long it's taking you to get back to that baseline level, which we discussed earlier as a definition of what recovery is. So I'm mainly going to talk about neuromuscular, endocrine, and the autonomic nervous systems. So
perfect.
Straight in to the one I think people know probably most about, or the one that you can tell the most whether you've done a hard session or not, which is your exercise-induced muscle damage, or EMID, you might see it, or you might know it as DOMS.
Delayed onset muscle soreness.
Yeah, you've been doing your homework.
From the bodybuilding days.
Exactly, mate. So what we actually find here is you can get pain from it, you get tender muscles, you get a decrease in strength and therefore power. You can lose range of motion through DOMS. You can certainly lose reactivity within the muscle.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the short stretch cycle, which is where your muscle reacts to a fast-acting force on it. It's been shown that you can lose your ability to, or the muscle's autonomic ability to react to that between 24 to 48 hours, so several days of it. So that might be where, and this is a big one that I know I've taken a bit of stick for here, and not a lot of the CrossFit coaches like me saying it, but if you do a hard CrossFit workout on the Monday, don't expect to show up Tuesday and absolutely smash track, because you're going to be sore. You might have done some box jumps, something like that on the Monday, and then you're coming into track and you're expecting to be as explosive and run fast over 200s or 400s. It ain't going to happen. Doesn't happen. So you're going to expect to see a loss there.
Yeah, I remember even still, like, my running mechanics completely change, and I feel my technique completely changes. Let's say I go to the gym on a Sunday and I do some upper body movements. That's going to affect your running as well. It's not just legs. You know, if you go lift heavy bench and then you try and run, your upper body and your arm pattern and how you move everything above the hips is going to be completely affected.
Yeah, and it is shown. Studies do show training under muscle soreness can cause you injury, because you're changing your kinematics, which is your technique or form. It's changing your reactivity. So within a running context there, we're looking at, you might be less efficient with your ground reaction forces. So that's as your foot's hitting the floor, the reaction of the muscle taking the force back off the floor into the legs, that's going to be less reactive. Therefore, you're going to change your running gait and style, or using other muscles that you might not have to use anyway. You're reducing movement velocity because you've got tired muscles, because you've got reduction in strength and power. And what this means is you're going to have to give more to get the same outcome for what you need if you were fresher. Mm-hmm. So therefore, you're just digging yourself into more of a recovery, into a fatigue state, which means you need more recovery to come out of it. So to put it in simple terms, you're working at higher intensities for the same outcome, meaning more strain and a higher chance of injury. Mm-hmm. That is where I tend to have that's why the Run Strong program, people say, it feels quite easy. And it's like, yeah, this program is designed to build you and not break you. Because I want you to not feel sore the next day if you run, or not feel sore for whatever training you have to do. So it's a complementary program alongside your run program. It's not like a CrossFit program where you're working on power, smash fest, get as sore as you can, and then try and run the next day. And it's tough, mate, because people if you love CrossFit and you love running, you have to sort of weigh up what's your priority.
Well, that's the issue. We do the Run Strong clinics now at the gym on Monday and Wednesday mornings. And it was almost like the first session, it was almost like it was a race. People some of them wanted just to get it done. Yeah. It's like, it's not a CrossFit workout, guys. It's not for time. You don't get high five at the end. Yes, no. You finish first. You always want to, the guys that take the longest are the guys that probably get the most benefit out of it.
Exactly.
Because it's
more technique focused.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But, what we're not saying is you should go really, really easy through all your workouts and never be sore. Because this is where we get to have the adaptation from the workouts is through the damaging you're doing to your muscle and muscle tissue cells, and we get something that we call adaptive remodeling, which I love that term. And what it means is your cells are regenerating, and so they're regenerating, they're coming back stronger. So you're breaking them down and it's going, oh, this really, really hurt. Right, tell our regenerative cells, so our satellite cells, we need to bring back stronger cells so that when we do this workout again, it doesn't affect us as badly. And so that's why we need to train to get that adaptive response back out of our bodies. But what we don't need to do is train and put ourselves in such a place where we can't continue training afterwards without doing damage in other areas that could be prevented, i.e. running form or pulling a muscle because you've got less reactivity and having to give more to it, giving more strain into the muscle that it needs to. So we want gradual fatigue as opposed to just being all in. Because if it was the fact it was like acute fatigue delivered the most response, well then we'll just get you to do one of our ultra leg workouts without any sort of preparation, straight into it, 1,000 box step ups, run hard 400.
You could from there as well just do track session after track session after track session.
Yeah, that's why. So you just go out and run at threshold every day if that was the key to it working. But we know, and hopefully enough people know from listening to this podcast, that one of the basic elements of run training is your aerobic training, and that is because it's your ability to train aerobically means you're not getting a lot of metabolic waste in the system, and therefore you can recover faster and be able to run the next day. That's why aerobic training is the forefront of endurance training.
I know we have quite a lot of CrossFitters that listen to this, so to bring that as well, if you think about when you do an open CrossFit workout, some of these workouts are only 5, 6, 7 minutes. I've never felt so sore back when I did CrossFit the day after one of the open CrossFit workouts, and it was purely because you push yourself so hard for that short amount of time that you wouldn't do in a day to day class workout, let's say, and just you're breaking everything down.
Yeah, big time.
Same thing.
Cool. So that's that's our muscular system, nervous muscular system. Next up, we're looking at the nervous system. So what exercise does to our basically the system that controls everything that's going on within our body. We have the sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight system, and we need both sides, and there's never one switched on and one off, but we need to have a ratio of what's working at what times. So what we expect to see with the sympathetic nervous system is it's going to be on, really, really on when we're doing hard, high intensity, maxed workouts. So this is the system that kicks in. Everyone says it when we used to be chased by lions. I love the fact we used to be chased by lions. Like, people just assume we did. Maybe we did it in some areas, but this is our fight or flight system. So when we do a really hard workout, that it seems to affect our sympathetic nervous system for the longest time. So low intensity aerobic work won't leave you with an elevated heart rate for too long. It won't hit your heart rate variability too much. So, but then when you do a high intensity workout, it really does. So we can see that doing hard, high intensive efforts is going to affect that sympathetic nervous system. I
think everyone's sort of hopefully everyone's felt that sort of nervousness feeling at the start line of a race, and you haven't actually started doing anything yet, but your heart rate's through the roof, or you start running and your heart rate's just so jacked and you have no idea why.
The
expectations, yeah. That's your fight or flight kicking in, isn't it?
It is, mate. And what they also shown on to back that up is that exercise induced muscle soreness workout, so really high intensive heavy reps, along with like a high intensity like a HIIT protocol, which is really common we get these days, can reduce the activation of the opposite nervous system to the sympathetic system. So the parasympathetic system will be temporarily reduced after really, really hard workouts. And so what that means is our ability to get more into a recovery mode, our rest and digest, will be affected. So therefore we won't be recovering as quickly. So if you're doing a really hard intensive workout every day of your week,
you're not recovering as well.
Yes, you're giving your body the strain it needs to come back to adapt to, but you're not letting yourself adapt.
So everything takes longer.
Because everything takes longer to get back into that restful state. So this is where periodized training or a day on, day off type of system works really, really well for people with short amount of time, because they can go super hard one day, nice and easy the next, super hard one day, nice and easy the next. It's most efficient with your time. If you have got time, we're looking at more of like an endurance program like we have, or like we coach, then it's all about keeping sessions easy enough to be to get done on day after day after day, but with enough adaptation in there to help the body respond to it. And then we might give them a rest day after 7 days, or possibly 10 days, or some people we go 2 weeks, but we give them an order enough to adapt to it, but without affecting the nervous system too much.
Some of the guys I have at the very, very start, I'll do 1 day on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off.
Yeah.
You know, if you're brand new to endurance sports or brand new to running, you just need that time to recover.
Exactly, mate.
And even then, you can still feel sore.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where we use, again, heart rate variability and heart rate monitoring to understand when the body is back and when it is in which state it is in. So if you wake up and your body is still in a fight or flight state, so we'll see that through an elevated heart rate, we might see it through a lowered heart rate variability. We can say, okay, you're still in this really sympathetic nervous system today, and you've got a really hard workout planned, let's scrap it. Go to being easy, because if we do that hard workout, you're going to impair your ability to go back to recovery even more so. Cool. Next one, we're looking at the hormones, so the endocrine system and how that is affected. And this again is affected big time through exercise. What we're looking for when we're looking at hormone function is basically it's the body's, like, it controls the chemicals in your body, and it sends messages around the body to different areas, different organs in the body to perform different functions. And when something that probably most people know of and have heard a lot of is testosterone, which is your building hormone, and it's really important for muscle function, like not only through hypertrophy but through the muscle's ability to retain glycogen. So especially for endurance athletes, like most of us are known for being like testosterone deficient, and everyone knows that a lot of the cyclists in the 90s and 80s were known for getting a little bit more than they should be in other areas. But that is because it's so key to muscle function, and also not only that, but the cognitive process as well. So how we're thinking. If studies have shown someone is less dominant or feels in a cornered state maybe, or they're more nervous, or they're not a confident person, they may have less testosterone than someone who is like a dominant person, or quite aggressive, ready to go within sport. We see it a lot within team sports, and it always comes up. It's testosterone levels will rise during like stressful situations and competitions and things, and it's found that it's more that you find more of it in the body in winners than losers.
Really,
it's amazing, isn't it? But that's what we see. So testosterone is a super important part of our hormone function, and exercise is a big one to that. But what we also get is cortisol is also really found a lot within exercise stress as well, and this is what they call a redistributive hormone. And what that means, mate, is it's the body's way of being able to shut down other areas of the body and give back energy to the places that are needed in order for muscles to recover. Mm-hmm. So it lets you sort of conserve energy and restructure the body, and allows it to calm down and not be a constant red line. If we didn't have cortisol, we'd go through our days like just smashing things up, and we get to the evening and we'd still be trying to take charge of things and want to be still going out for a run. But actually what we see is cortisol levels rise through the day. So by we get to the evening, we're calm. Yeah. And the body's saying, okay, let's shut things down. We need to give you some energy back. We need to let you rest. We need to let you sleep. And then we're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to have a load of testosterone back, and we're going to get you going again, and we're going to fire on. And then as the day goes on, it settles down. And one thing that, as I was doing some research on this, it reminded me that in today's lifestyle, and this goes back with your mental aspects of things, mate, mm-hmm. It's almost tricking our bodies into not taking notice of the cortisol. So, okay, I'm meant to be calming down, but suddenly I'm going to shoot a load of blue light into my eyes and watch a really aggressive film and what's the latest shoot-up series? I don't know, someone's getting murdered and I want to be there. And, you can really trick your body into dumping more testosterone back into your bloodstream and ignoring the cortisol, and then you go to bed and you think, oh, why can't I sleep?
This is going to be an issue with people that train really late at night as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
People that have coffees in the afternoon, or it's just
exactly, mate. So this is a really important part of understanding why you need to rest and recover. The other thing, mate, is if you're super tired and you've still got a long run to do and you're a really determined person, you'll find a way of getting that done. And I'll tell you how you'll find a way. You'll take a approach to it where you just no other option than getting this done, and the body will go, right, cool, we're on board. Here's a ton of testosterone. Here's a load of other hormones that is going to get you into the state of mind to be able to do this. You're going to go out and do it. You're going to ignore the fact that you're tired. You're ignoring the fact that your body wants to just rest, and you're likely going to pick up an injury. So being able to understand, okay, when I'm tired, I've got high cortisol in the blood. I am stressed, maybe not just through training, maybe through more social life or work, normally is the case, or family. So I need to rest in order to clear that cortisol out and then be able to start afresh the next day.
It's coming back to being really self-aware of you as a person and what you've got going on in your life, and just everything as a total individual, really, doesn't it?
Exactly, mate. Exactly. So
maybe worth noting here as well that for women as well, the menstrual cycle really affects training and recovery for sure. So if you split the menstrual cycle into, let's go, 2 halves with a peak in the middle for when you are fertile.
Yep.
And from day one to the first half, the chemicals and the hormone imbalance in your body isn't as prevalent as the second half when you're fertile and ready to conceive, and the recovery changes completely on those different halves.
Massively, mate. Massively.
There's a link, actually. There's a doctor called, I want to say this now because you keep talking, I'll find the podcast.
Talk about what, mate? I mean, you're going to drop an absolute bomb here. It's called the Fiery Fitness Podcast, I think it was called, and it is with
Tough Girl Podcast.
Tough Girl.
Dr. Stacey Sims, who is a leading global expert of female physiology and endurance training.
There we go.
Listen to her podcast about the female athletes and the menstrual cycle, and it was just mind-blowing. Yeah, it is. And I do with a few of my female athletes, you have to know them very well, and we say, look, if this is a really important part of your training, if you're okay to share it with me, I'm absolutely fine to be in on it and help you work that out with your schedule. Cool. Right, so what I want to do is make sure people have some takeaways from today. We've talked a lot about what recovery is and how it affects the body, but let's talk about actually ways to recover. Yeah, how do you actually recover post run, post cycle, post swim, post CrossFit, post sport? Yeah, and I had a little think, what's the most common ways most of us know how to, especially within endurance and running. So we're just going to go through them and say what our thoughts on them are and what's actually the recovery of it is designed to be doing. And I thought we had to start, mate, with panger number one. I hate this one. Compression garments. Do you own compression socks, mate? Calf sleeves? No. I used to have compression socks. Yeah. And I wore them solely for long flights. I didn't wear them for running. Good man. Yeah. Yeah. So what they're designed to do is exert pressure onto the covered area and improve blood flow. They claim, mate. Some studies show they do, but there's a few caveats. The first one is the type of product that you're buying. So what they found is products tailored to the actual size of the muscle and the athlete's limb are what's effective. So if you find a study that is effective, it's because they found a garment that is really specifically tailored to that person's limb. Yeah, they're not going into a sports shop buying a brand, let's go just call one out, 2XU, buying their calf compression sleeves, sticking them on and then measuring those athletes. They are taking people to a lab. They're testing a certain, let's call it tightness of compression sleeve, and then measuring those results. Yeah, they are. And if you get that wrong, what you will get is blood pooling because of the non-gradual pressure of the sleeve. And what you actually want to look for is a gradual pressure. So you want to be able to make sure that the pressure is more at the lower end than it is at the top. Otherwise, the blood will be squeezed out from underneath, but it won't have anywhere to go at the top, and it'll pool back in the muscle. So you may as well just passively recover or stick your legs in the air. Don't wear them upside down. Wear them upside down. Yeah, you could do. I do like them. I wear long. The Compressport do a individual leg. So you know, they're not tights. They're individual legs, full legs, and I use them when I'm either traveling or on normally I'll stick them on a Saturday afternoon after all my week's training's done, and whatever I'm doing, if I'm just lying there horizontal, I have them on and do feel a bit better, mate, but I'm not tricking myself that it's the be all and end all. So here's a question for you, because I don't wear them. How tight are they? They shouldn't be cutting off any circulation, but it should be there enough that you feel it's squeezing your muscle. Okay. The big part they find with compression and why it works is, and I love this word, and it's a word everyone should know about, placebo. If you believe your compression socks work and you're not getting swollen feet or that feeling of pins and needles or maybe some blood pooling, or if you remove the compression you've got a really deep line in your skin, if all that is in place and you believe if all those things aren't in place, so it's doing you no harm and you believe they're doing you good, then they are. Simple as that. There you go, placebo. But are we running around in compression socks? No, we're not. If you can't do compression, or you don't want to spend the money, or you think it's not worthwhile, then your alternative would be hydrostatic compression, which is basically water immersion. Have you ever done that? Well, yeah, mate, swimming most days. Go stand in the sea recovery. Yeah. Go up to waist height. The pressure obviously is lower, is higher at your feet, lower down the limb because you're deeper in the water. And as you go more shallower, there's less pressure. So you're getting a beautiful
gradual pressure. That's why hydrostatic recovery is nearly always found to be worthwhile doing.
There we go.
Yeah. Cool.
Another one?
And just on that, lying down in a deep bath horizontal is giving you the same pressure at both ends, so it won't be as effective. Just thinking, when you're building your own house, mate, you want a real deep pool.
Deep bath.
Deep bath. Talking of baths, we're looking next at cryotherapy, so cold exposure. And we're going to start with whole body cryotherapy, which isn't a bath. It's more of a chamber that you step into. These things get down, well, they should be minus 110 degrees or less.
Yeah.
Have you done these, mate?
No. Do you know what? I got a flyer for one, and I had somebody at an event sort of have this little. It was almost like a steamer that you get for your clothes, and she sprayed some cold air on my arm and said, "Oh, this is cryotherapy. Come and have a go."
So that's localized cryotherapy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but what's really effective is the whole body. So your whole body gets in.
I've seen it. You sit in like almost like an eggshell, and your head's just poking out above the top.
Get your head in, mate. They're the best ones. You
Really?
step fully into a chamber.
Wow.
Yeah. Fully in.
I've never done that.
Fully in. The when your head's sticking out, they just don't get cold enough
Mhm.
because you've always got the atmosphere coming in. So
Yeah.
you need to change the whole atmosphere of it. This works off a vasoconstriction and dilation theory. So you're squeezing the muscle just like we do with pressure, like hydrostatic pressure or compression. And then, so that squeezes the blood away towards the heart, venous return.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you warm back up, you get dilation. And that accelerates the fresh blood with the fresh nutrients to your cells back around your body. And it works.
So it's basically promoting faster recycle. Well,
all recovery is promoting faster regeneration of blood back to the muscle.
Yeah.
That's what it's all based on. Even a 3-minute exposure to minus 10 or below has shown to give the body a sort of head start in recovery. And the way they can show this is you get reactive proteins within the body when there's muscle breakdown. And what they found is people who use cryotherapy have less of these reactive proteins in their bloodstream around 48 hours. Whereas the people who didn't use it had them in their bloodstream longer, up to 90 hours.
That's what I was going to ask. So how quickly after you do a really hard session, obviously that's not practical to do that every day.
Yeah.
So would you recommend, or would you, I wouldn't say recommend, if someone's going to do it, the best time to do it is after a really hard session, but within 48 hours?
Exactly, mate. This is where the
ASAP?
science isn't quite right, or doesn't quite know what's going on yet, is that your body needs a certain time in the inflamed response.
Yeah.
Because that's when cell adaptation happens and where the body goes, okay, we're in trouble here, we need to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's going to affect you for days afterwards, that's where you can use these as little helpers to get you back quicker.
To boost it. Yeah.
So I think whole body cryotherapy is good if you can do it. Here's the cons, right? It's really cold.
Obviously.
And it's really costly.
Yeah.
So it's only seen in the top pro teams, and if you're doing it, some places here in Dubai, it costs. It's 250, 300, 350 dirhams a pop.
Wow.
If you're going to do it, once a week is ideal at the end of your hard training week before a rest day.
I mean, you're going to be pretty committed to want to spend £50, 250 dirhams a week.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, you do. So obviously that's the thing. But, in fact, if does it work or not? Yes, it does. Where it's now, what people could say, I just do ice baths, I just do cold water immersion.
It's back in like the rugby days, they just put the wheelie bin in the changing room, fill it with water, fill it with ice, everyone jumps in.
Mate, I remember the day my coach found out about this and making us jump into a wheelie bin of freezing cold iced water, and I just thought, you're mad, mate. But you just got on and did it. What's working here is what you really need to do if you are doing cold water immersion is do it standing up. Mm-hmm. Because we're getting that hydrostatic pressure plus the cooling of muscle tissue. That is what's going to give you your recovery. If you're just sitting horizontally in a cold bath, again, placebo effect might feel like it's working and you get the vasoconstriction and dilation effects, but you don't get that pressure effect. And that's the real key to recovery, is getting blood out and getting blood back in. So you're almost doubling up if you're able to do it standing.
And you feel the difference, actually. Whenever you jump into a wheelie bin of ice water, you can feel it at the bottom of your legs. You can feel the pressure of the water that deep.
You can, mate. You can. What they're not sure, and there's a lot of studies done on this, and the data isn't clear, is you might be going too cold.
Mm-hmm.
So you might be giving your muscle tissue actual almost ice burn. And when that happens, the body reacts by heating up that area and causing more stress. So you're putting stress on stress. some people say, I feel so good, I feel much better after it. Well, that's actually your body just dumping a load of hormones, going back to hormones, into the body to make you feel okay. Like, you're not going to die, you're going to be okay.
It's the fight or flight.
Fight or flight, mate. So we might be actually down-regulating your parasympathetic nervous system. Some studies show you up-regulate it later on that evening. So therefore, the ice bath should be done earlier in the day in order to help you sleep better at night. There's loads of mixed reactions on it. I'd say if you are going to do it standing up, and do it in water that is not causing your skin to feel like ice burn. But yeah, it does work, and I use them as much as I can. It's difficult here. The ice usually melts before you're able to get in the water, but when I'm back in the UK, I do use these a fair bit. And then I put on my compression leggings and get into a nice warm blanket, and I'm so happy. But I think that's more placebo than anything.
Probably.
Next one that a lot of people is getting more popular now is electrostimulation.
Yes.
So this is basically, it stimulates the muscle to enhance blood flow. Again, we're getting that contraction and relaxation, which is pumping blood out, the metabolic waste within our blood out, and letting new fresh blood come back in.
This was huge in like the 90s and the noughties, wasn't it, with those ab workouts? Like
Ronaldo was the face of it.
Stick these 6 electrodes to your abs, 10 minutes a day, and you'll have abs like Ronaldo.
Exactly. And again, it's similar to the cold water immersion, mate. Ice baths. It's really dependent on like different wave rates. So the actual electrical stimulus, how hard that is. Most people, like I have one of these, or had one of these systems, and what do I do straight away? I want to turn it up to max and see what I can do. Like, straight away. Same with an ice bath. I want to know how cold I can get. So there's when you're looking at a study, you've got to look at what they used in terms of, if you're looking at ice bath temperature, if you're looking at electrostimulation, current flow, or the different timings. So some people might do it for 5 minutes, some people might do it for 15. So there's a lot of different ideas of whether this really works or not. My thoughts on it is it's probably better tool for injury recovery than general recovery.
Whenever I tore my lat and I went to the physio, they did a lot of what's it called? Don't know. Not UV. Oh, I'll come back to me.
Infrared.
That's the one I'm looking for. Yeah. So they did that on my injury, and I felt it helped me recover faster.
Well, what it's doing is it's giving the muscle an adaptation without putting strain on it through lengthening and shortening. So you're getting the benefits of doing exercise without having to do the exercise and create the demand on the muscle or joint, possibly. That's why I'm saying it's probably better for recovery than it is for actually... it's probably better for injury than it is actually for recovery.
Yeah.
The next one that's similar field to that is your soft tissue and manual therapies. So again, we're looking at massage, we're looking at acupuncture, chiropractors, that sort of thing. What you're working on is blood flow, you're working on range of movement, flexibility and relaxation.
And even these days now as well, you can buy these guns, can't you, that do the same thing?
Yeah, the power guns. Rossi bought one in the other day.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and so yeah, you got home, you got foam rollers, you got those, yeah, exactly, the myofascial guns. And again, what we're seeing is real mixed results. Again, because studies, if you're using anything manual, can be affected by the user. So how hard have you pressed? How long have you done it for? Did one therapist do 10 flows up your calf and one did 12? Like, has someone had tissue therapy in the past and they swear by it, therefore whatever happens, I could just touch you on the shoulder and you go, I feel much better.
Yeah.
Like that sort of healing aspect. Someone had a really bad association with a physio years back because they hurt them and they go, no, it doesn't work. Someone swears by chiropractors, someone's absolutely against them. It's so hard to define whether it works or not. So again, it's down to a placebo, and it's more of an injury tool rather than recovery. So it's all part of the process, but it wouldn't be a staple part of it, unless you're prone to injuries, in which case you should be seeing a professional like once or twice a week with it.
So lots of these that you've just mentioned, they're paid for.
Yeah.
They're not cheap, apart from an ice bath.
Marketed.
Is there anything that you would say that's really practical, really easy, really straightforward? If you like, what could be the cornerstones to your recovery that people could take away and do without any stress, without any real extra grief in their life?
Yeah, there is.
I'm focusing now on their mental side, and if they have to put cryo and they're worried about how they're going to send the kids to school because they're paying 250 dirhams a day.
Yeah, and you can wipe all of the above away if you have 3 key elements to your recovery.
3 things.
3 things.
Go for it. What's the 3?
Activity.
Activity.
So what going on by there is low intensity exercise mixed within your week. So it's non-metabolic waste inducing. What that means is you're not creating any lactic acid in the muscle or hydrogen ions to cause that burning feeling. If you're starting to sweat, you're probably doing it too hard.
Now, would you say then a runner?
Yes.
Let's say a runner runs a really hard week. Should they be going out then and running at low intensity to be their active recovery?
If that low intensity exercise doesn't affect them, like I said, not breaking a sweat, not building up any metabolic waste.
Yeah.
Yes. Otherwise, go for a walk.
So this goes back to what I said earlier on about you're training too hard, too fast.
Yeah. Exactly.
So slow everything down.
If it's not feeling like recovery, it ain't recovery.
Yeah. Another option for that is you go, like you say, if you're a runner or a sole runner, you go for a little swim.
Yeah.
Or you go for a walk.
Exactly.
Or you jump on the bike.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's one, active recovery. The next one, and probably the most important, is sleep.
Sleep.
That's the number one way to recover. It's they found in study time after time after time, it's the most effective recovery strategy. You can do all of the above. You can get electrified while you're standing in a cryo chamber with compression garments on and a physio massaging your neck.
And one with a gun.
One with a hydro gun with abs. It doesn't hold a candle to sleep.
And sleep's usually the first thing to go. So whenever people up their training, how am I going to fit all this time in? Oh, I'll just get up earlier.
Yeah.
I'll go to bed later.
Yeah.
So they lose sleep.
Lose sleep, first thing to go. So sleep is so important. That's when your hormones reset, growth hormone upregulates. You just get so many factors that we're still understanding, mate. Like we're still understanding the science of sleep. It's brilliant. It's like the ocean of our bodies. We don't know half of it yet.
I'm still only about a third of the way through Matthew Walker's book.
Sleep book, yeah.
My God, I have to keep going back to the start
It's
and reading
epic,
over a
isn't
bit.
And the takeaways from that is you should be sleeping 7 to 9 hours per night. Cold, dark room, limited noise and exposure to disturbances. And if you are struggling with sleep all the way through the night, then making it up with a short nap in the day will also help with that as well.
Yeah. And a thing that I remember, or one of the big things I remember from the book, is that you cannot bank sleep. So let's say at the weekend you're going to go, or your sleep going to be deprived slightly, or you've got big meetings, you've got a lot on. You can't earlier on in the week go, right, I'm going to have an extra hour now, an extra hour, and make it up
for it.
No, it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't, but that's better than not having it.
Yeah, you definitely better sleep longer.
And the last one, mate, is like an absolute cornerstone to recovery is also nutrition and hydration.
Yes.
And, well, maybe that could be another topic show.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll be here for another hour.
Yeah, okay. You love talking about nutrition and hydration.
I can talk about that for a while, yeah. Like so I can about recovery.
Okay, so the next topic show could be nutrition and hydration.
Yeah, let's dig into some facts there.
Cool.
Help people out. So hopefully that's helped you guys and made you think about how you are recovering. What strategies do you have in place? Do you need to put a strategy into place? Either way, recovery should be the number one factor of your week.
Definitely.
And if it isn't, hopefully this show has helped you to change that. If you need help, get in touch. We can help you put a strategy together. Rob Jones is rj@innerfight.com if you want to email him.
Yep.
I am tw@innerfight.com if you want to email me. If you want to email into the show, you can email endurance@innerfight.com. And we are on Instagram, testing you with the handles this week, mate.
I'm Rob Jones Endurance, and you are Tom Walker Fitness.
He's done his homework. Excellent. We have the question show next week for 008 is filling up, but we can always use more questions, so send them on in. We'll get them answered, and I hope you guys have a great week.
Take care. Bye-bye.